The next generation of lawyers is speaking about the work culture. They're talking about the work-life balance. And I believe they do bring in certain interesting points to the table for discussion, something that perhaps our generation did not think about it so deeply.
As a first generation lawyer, back in the day, we never thought of work-life balance. As a woman, you're always working. You don't stop working, you don't shut down, you don't mentally shut down. There is no work-life balance for a woman, let me put it that way.
Yeah. But burnout amongst young lawyers has become very common. And it's interesting and good that they're talking about it. Is it a generational shift? And have the employers changed according to the new generation?
The stakes have changed now. So therefore, if I was putting in 6 hours of work, they need to put in 8 hours because there's too much of complication now in the world. Our disputes are of a certain other level, and therefore, yes, they may be working double. The law firm that I've been in forever, yes, it does recognize burnout.
And
it does.
How is it changing them? Is it changing them institutionally?
It is, because we recognize mental health. We give them counseling. We give people time off. There is compulsory this New Year end break. There is work from anywhere for 2 weeks. First cuts, the drafts, the research will get done by AI, and so therefore the run of the mill work that we do as associate level, that will definitely be taken up by AI.
Are lawyers going to lose their jobs because of artificial intelligence?
Litigators for sure can't lose their jobs.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Let's Talk Law. I'm Anusha Soni. We are bringing you some special conversations today. You must have seen a lot of legal stalwarts coming to our platform, exchanging ideas, thoughts and voices. Today, we have Smarika Singh. She's an equity partner with Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas, somebody who has almost about 2 decades of experience. The idea of bringing voices like Smarika into the discussion and discourse is to bring fresher perspectives. The world of law, litigation, dispute resolution is changing fast. And it's thought leaders and litigators like Smarika who are into the game, changing the game, and would also be able to tell us how India is evolving into this space. So Smarika, I have a whole bio of you that I could read. And you've done some leading cases, including representing Nestle in the famous dispute. But I think what stands out for me is that you're a first-generation woman lawyer and who has had a stellar practice and career. So for our viewers, could you tell us a bit about your journey? You started from here.
Yes, in fact, I was interning here, and internship got converted into a PPO, pre-placement offer, and that's when I've been here since forever. So yes, I'm a homegrown lawyer, as they call it, and I got lucky to get dispute resolution at the start of my career because, it wasn't easy to land up with a dispute resolution team at that point in time.
Yeah.
And since then, I've had the opportunity of working directly with the managing partner since day one. I think that kept me going here, and then, of course, the kind of cases that landed in my lap, they were all interesting, and not everything reaches the headline, but everything is interesting in their own way. That's how it happened.
How has this journey been as a litigator in the last about 18 years, if I'm correct, of your practice? How have you seen the scape of law, litigation, dispute resolution changing and evolving? Because your journey and what you've gone through is also a precursor for us to see how times are changing and what might evolve into the days to come.
Maybe it's a firm practice, but back in the day when I just started, we were doing a lot of court work, and slowly it's now shifting towards arbitrations, and mostly for law firms it's international or domestic arbitrations. Not really getting into that, but yes, the focus is really shifting on arbitrations now. It's also maybe because the clients are far more receptive of the idea of doing arbitrations, and hence they've been incorporating that in their contracts. And those are now coming into light. Those are now coming into disputes, which is I think close to 70% of our bread and butter now. So there is a sea shift in how we were doing law, how we were practicing law. We were going to court more often back in the day, doing the suits, the regular suits, which have come down a little and shifted more towards, arbitration. That's a
Would you
shift.
call it a paradigm shift?
I would. Actually, I would. Yeah.
India wants to be the next arbitration hub, right?
Yeah.
But I'm candid enough to say, as an observer, as a student of law, that we have our own set of challenges when it comes to making India a popular destination for arbitration. And you come across this on an everyday basis about the seat of arbitration, whether you should do it in India or not. What are the impediments for India if it wants to become the next arbitration hub? The biggest problems that you see right now?
I think the biggest problem is, one is, of course, the serious backlog that we have in court. And we have always been more amenable to challenging awards, which is not in the case of, mostly arbitration hub and arbitration friendly countries. So that is something that perhaps is a big challenge. While, of course, you'll have to give it to the legislatures. They're doing everything now to change that, and you need to deposit the award amount in court before before the challenges run through. All of that is being done, but the deterrent that is there in jurisdictions outside India, that is not really prevalent in India. One is that, and one is the sheer number of cases. It's not that the courts aren't doing their jobs. It's just that there are so many cases. If you've got 100 cases listed every day, it takes time to go through all of them. So therefore, the disposal rate of arbitration cases, just like any other cases, it just slows down. And that's, I think, a major deterrent why even Indian parties end up choosing, a foreign seat as an arbitration.
With a growing arbitration practice in India, it's a lot of bread and butter for the firms.
Absolutely.
But do you think that we have enough talent here? Homegrown talent, like you mentioned?
We do. Perception is that we don't have it is because we're doing 10 things at a time. But
For example?
For example, we're running to court, we're going to tribunals, we're doing arbitrations. But when you see, councils abroad, they're only doing arbitrations.
Yes.
And therefore you feel, they are arbitration lawyers, but that's not the case here. At the end of the day, arbitration is what? It is a dispute under a contract. If you know your law, you can apply it. If you can apply it in court, you can apply it in
Arbitration.
in arbitration as well.
Yeah.
So you have trained minds in India. It's just that we need to stop running for these councils abroad. I think that is important. I think we need to change our perspective.
There's a fascinating concept that Justice Indu Malhotra mentioned when I interviewed her last. And she said that India is the most sued country in the world. There's a lot of money India is spending, which is on foreign lawyers, on foreign law firms. There are many reasons for it. One of the reasons she mentioned was that we have enough homegrown talent and it requires the direct and adequate representation to it. So in your understanding in practice, is there adequate diverse representation, or there is a certain degree of, the right way to put it is, segregation of certain identities, or you would like the pool to be much wider for it to be more accommodative of different people and identities?
No, I think it's important that the pool has to be wider, more diverse, more accommodating, more receptive to, let me put it, to the Indian subcontinent or to the subcontinent at large. And it's because you feel that there are particular kind of people who are far more trained in doing arbitrations, which is not the case, as I said, that allow your people to do it, and trust me, because we know our clients. We know our clients far better than anybody else would know it. And we know how they would want their cases to be led. And so therefore, if you have an Indian guy leading an Indian arbitration, there is, they understand it much better. And therefore I feel, yes, maybe it's the training. Yeah, you can, of course, there's never I would say, no harm in training as much as you want. I mean, learning never stops, but at the end of the day, you need to give your people more space and more opportunity.
Without trying to pinpoint here or say X or Y, is there a lack of confidence in Indian lawyers? I'm not saying by who, but I'm saying a general sense that prevails in the world of arbitration.
I'm surprised that you say that, because the amount our senior counsels are paid, I don't think anybody else would be paid. Yes. So I mean, there is no lack of confidence here.
Yeah.
There's no lack of confidence here. Maybe lack of time, just because they do so many matters.
Yeah.
There's no lack of confidence in them. Similarly, if you allow the second and the third ranked lawyers to do that, I think that it's not lack of confidence, it's lack of opportunity. Because everybody wants to jump at the opportunities given to them, but only if the opportunities land, right? Stop running after foreign lawyers and give these opportunities, you know, in India. Things will change. There will be a shift in just mindset.
Just the mindset that needs to change. How has it been for you as a first generation woman lawyer? I'm sure you have a lot of anecdotes and shares.
The two, you asked me two questions: first generation and a woman.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to answer the latter first?
As a woman lawyer, it's easier to make your space in arbitration field, in the arbitration world. It is far more easier. But
why is it easier?
Because the regular litigation is really occupied by men. I mean, and
it's a dominated.
It is dominated. It is dominated.
That is the reality of today.
That is the reality.
We are more than welcome to change it.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is the reality. And therefore, it's easier to make your mark in arbitration world. But as a woman lawyer, and perhaps that's how my journey has been, from doing regular litigation to shifting to arbitration.
I'll give you more context to this question. If you go on LinkedIn today, or you might have dozen of CVs coming to you every day when you hire for the firm. You know, the next generation of lawyers is speaking about the work culture. They're talking about the work-life balance. And Gen Z might be criticized for a lot of things, or the work ethic. But I believe they do bring in certain interesting points to the table for discussion. Something that perhaps our generation did not think about it so deeply. Do you see that shift in the mode of thinking when you hire new people, a new generation?
No, absolutely, I do that. And as a first generation lawyer, back in the day, we never thought of work-life balance.
Yeah.
All we thought of was making it, landing yourself a job, doing well at it, doing good work. That's all we thought about. But yes, today I think it's also because of the opportunities that they get even at the college level. We didn't have that kind of opportunity, so the exposure is much more. And once they come to law firms, therefore they demand work-life balance. And as a woman lawyer, there's no work-life balance. I don't see that happening. It's because we don't shut down. As women, we don't shut down. So even if I have, let's say, reasonable amount of working hours, I'm still working at home because I'm doing other stuff. As a woman, you're always working. You don't stop working. You don't shut down. You don't mentally shut down. There is no work-life balance for a woman. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. I find this entire sentence very strange, where we talk about working women versus homemakers. I mean, all women are working.
They're all working.
Whether they're working inside the home or outside the home. And if you have an active career, then it's just the double load that you're carrying. You're also a mother. And I'm sure it's a lot of responsibilities to juggle. And the reason I talk about all of this, Smarika, is the fact that somehow in the narratives, this perspective of women is missing. Lawyers and women who have careers, who are raising children, raising families, and the problems that they encounter. That somehow gets completely missed because the profession has been dominated by men. Litigation continues to be so. Yeah. And we were discussing earlier about how the biological clock and your professional clock is completely in contradiction with each other. Is that something that you also experienced? Similar experiences for you?
Right when you're going the family route is when you may be hitting a particular juncture at your professional growth, where perhaps you're supposed to move up the ladder. Now you need to take a call whether you want to move up the ladder or stay there, because you may need time off. So of course they are always, your professional clock and your biological clock will always be in conflict. And as you say that, as a working woman, it is double the load. It is double the load when we're talking about that. My 11-year-old will call me up at 2 o'clock and she will tell me what has happened during the day. She will tell me what needs to be done when she gets home. And she will tell me what work she's leaving for me to do. She'll also do her work allocation. Yeah. So all of that doesn't stop. I need to get home. I can't say, let me have a cup of tea and, I need to be left alone. No, that's not happening. I need to get back to doing work with her and for her. And at the end of the day, as a mother, one is professional growth. One is you're doing all of this to show your child that, you can also achieve a lot, right? But if you don't give your child the time, it's not worth it. Because the child is not learning because you're not there to teach her.
I want to ask you this because I had this conversation with somebody who just passed out of law school, worked for 2 years at a law firm. And I have experienced what it's called a burnout when you work too much. But that happened after a decade of working. I couldn't have thought of that term first 2 years of working, because I'm sure it's the same for you, because we were just working, we were enjoying what we were doing. But burnout amongst young lawyers has become very common. And it's interesting and good that they're talking about it. Is it a generational shift in terms of them expecting different things from their employers? And have the employers changed according to the new generation?
Just step back a little and just think that perhaps we are now the employers, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, maybe it's also, and the younger generation that's coming in is burning out because the stakes have changed now. So therefore, I mean, if I was putting in 6 hours of work and producing an out, coming out with something, they need to put in 8 hours because there's too much of complication now in the world. I mean, our disputes are of a certain other level, and therefore yes, they may be working double the shifts, or maybe not really double the shift, but they're working more hard. I feel, not to discount that we didn't work hard, but maybe we also need to change our mindset, because now, since we've done it at that time, not realizing there was something called burnout, maybe we need to step back and think.
So are law firms now recognizing that there is something called a burnout?
I think I'm at least the law firm that I've been in forever, yes, it does recognize burnout.
And
it does.
How is it changing them? Is it changing them institutionally?
It is, because we recognize mental health. We give them counseling. We give people time off. There is compulsory this New Year end break. There is work from anywhere for 2 weeks. And if you're not working from office, even if you're working, let's say, from a hill station, it really changes your mindset.
It does.
It does. It relaxes you.
It relaxes.
I mean, so coming up with all those measures, but at the same time, you cannot have, let's say, half the team taking off because work still needs to get done. I mean, there are clients to be serviced. So we're building up all these measures so that people get their downtime. We're doing all of that.
Yeah. The last 2 points that I want to touch with you. One is about artificial intelligence, the way it's changing the legal industry. I think it's my limited understanding is that it's going to transform it drastically. What is your understanding? Are lawyers going to lose their jobs because of artificial intelligence?
Litigators for sure can't lose their jobs. I can't do advocacy.
You're in court. Yeah,
I can't do advocacy for sure. So we as litigators are safe there. Of course, a lot of first cuts, the drafts, the research will get done by AI, and so therefore the regular work that the run-of-the-mill work that we do as associate level, that will definitely be taken up by AI. But that doesn't mean there will never be human intervention. Those products need to be looked at by humans. If a plaint is being drafted by AI, I still would need my associate to look at it, because there may be arguments that get developed by the associates which an AI may not. So I don't think it'll replace, but yes, it will do a lot of mainstream work which otherwise was being done by associates. Yeah.
How much of inroads has AI made into a firm like yours?
It has, actually. We've actually just started Harvey, and we've started using it. So as litigators, we're using it. So it has made, we've started an entire project on it. So AI has been launched formally for us.
Yeah. So research must have shifted drastically to AI, because that's one area which is being transformed globally in different sectors.
Yeah, of course. It has shifted, but we still encourage our kids to go back and read the books.
Yeah,
it's important. It's important.
In all professions, we wish that the younger generation would read a lot more books.
Yeah.
But I don't think if that's happening, because Google and AI has transformed.
I wish kids could go and sit in the library that we used to do.
You realize we sound like old people
right now. Seriously, we do. But we were all sitting in the library doing our research, going through the books. It's sometimes fun to read the commentaries, not just the case law. Read the commentaries around it. It's fun. So I would request the younger generation to keep doing that.
So when you're hiring from the younger lot, what is the change that has come in the last 5 to 7 years, especially post-COVID? Also because AI came into a lot. We had the entire 3-year period where there was this whole generation that did not physically go to the law schools. We spoke about the work-life balance that is being demanded. But how has the new generation really changed the rules of the game? What is your experience on that?
I've had good and bad experiences. One is the younger generation is far more informed than, of course, I was. I can say that for sure. But there is sometimes I feel there's a change in attitude. It's when we came for a job, we were looking out for a job. Sometimes I feel it's the other way out. I'm looking out for an associate. Okay. I need one. So it's in spite of the fact that I get so many CVs every day, but there is that change in attitude. Yeah. And, in my team, and I think mostly across perhaps the firm, there's a basic level of understanding that, the CVs that you get, they may be of a similar range. Most of them are, because all these kids have, studied, done their work, done their moot courts, done their homework, all of that. But when we interview people, we look at the right attitude. That's what we look for. Because
That's
if you
very difficult
can't,
to gauge.
it is difficult to gauge, but it is easier to gauge the wrong attitude, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you can for sure identify somebody,
attitude.
somebody who will not fit the club, and it's a team game
What would
here.
you define as the wrong attitude? Because I am sure there's a lot of students who would watch this podcast. So what is the right attitude to have?
I'll tell you, I had an incident which was 2 years back. I was interviewing I think a second ranker from a law college, and amazing CV, written articles, just did one moot. So I asked, why haven't you done more moot? He said, no, something happened in the first year that I didn't feel like. So that was there was an attitude problem that, maybe something bad happened, went wrong in college, maybe whatever it was. But then you decided that that's not for you. I mean, and now you're interviewing and trying to get a placement in a dispute resolution team. That kind of an attitude did not go down well with me. I was like, you need to be a team player. There will be instances within the team you may not like a particular individual, but that doesn't mean that you will just step back. Yeah, that's not happening. So so that's the kind of attitude that you end up. And there's a lot of casual dressing in interviews that's happening, which is very surprising for me. For example, I've had interviews during COVID, interviews being taken where you're putting on a blazer or a t-shirt. I mean, like, we're old enough to see through that. You cannot do that. Yeah.
They're more, I believe the word is chilled out with what they're wearing. Like even I would want to like dress more formally if I'm doing an interview or if I'm going to meet a lawyer, if I want to go to court. But I think the code for dressing there is more toned down.
Yeah, but maybe leave it for Fridays, not for an interview. Leave those dressing for Fridays. Yeah. So that's a sea shift. That's what I'm seeing in the attitude.
Are you able to find recruits for the firm which are well read, which have good writing skills? That's one problem that I come across a lot. We do a couple of research projects, different research projects. And one of the bigger problems that I see with younger lawyers is the inability to write because the chat GPT is doing it for them.
That's true.
And that's an answer I'm coming up with a lot of them. That the basic structure of how to write is missing. Some of them have it, but those are the ones who are writing more actively.
Yeah.
That's an exception.
No, I completely agree with you, and that's why we mandatorily take a written test and we make them write it. Not that I give them an assignment, they submit it 3 days later. Sorry, you come here, you write it down for me, leave the test and then go back. That's how we do it. Yeah, with the pen and paper, because I'm not, you're right, because they can literally, copy paste 10 things from 10 websites and give it to me, and I will not have the time to go back and look at what you've copy pasted. So we have written tests here. You're right, because basic plain drafting is something that is missing. So it's missing. It is missing. It goes down to that level.
My last point that I want to touch upon is diversification beyond NLUs. It was known at one point that big firms only hire from certain institutions. Is that changing now?
It is. I mean, we've had some very good associates who are not from NLUs. Yeah, it is changing.
I mean, nothing against them.
No, but I mean, I'm from one of them.
I'm doing a course with them. So
nothing against them. I think, generally we look at what we try and do is somebody's come for internship. If he or she is good, we try and ask them to come back, test them while they're at the job and give them an offer. That's the easiest way we find it. And that doesn't boil down to which law college you are from. It just boils down to how you're performing when you're working with us. So I don't think we're really stuck on NLUs. With that is not the case anymore. I don't see that.
It's heartening to see more women women students, girl students in law colleges. Somebody mentioned how the proportion is now more than 50%. I don't know if that statistics is documented, but I hear a lot of anecdotal evidence about how the number of girls in law colleges now is more than boys.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, especially this year, 2024 pass-outs.
Okay.
And the coming next few years, the number of girls who are opting for law. So I hope the profession is ready to accommodate them and the different demands of women?
No, I'm sure. I mean, if you have so many women stepping into the profession, they will automatically reach
And
your
as you
team.
said, you
Yeah.
are the next generation employers.
Yeah, so I mean, it will. And, surprisingly, now when you say that, and I look back, there was a point in time when I only had one male associate in my team amongst all the women. So we actually consciously had to take try and see that I had more men in my team. It just so happened. But I hope, yes, you're right. I hope the profession gets more accommodating for women and more accepting that they reach the top.
It's by narrating the right stories that perhaps we can make that space more for women, more for different kind of challenges that they have in their life.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
It's been lovely chatting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.